So, Wolves nil, Leicester nil in the first game of the season, but let's get straight to it. And VAR has been the main talking point for this weekend, not just for Wolves now. Unfortunately, we've been amongst that today as well, but the Manchester City game yesterday and a few others, it's just not right. Football is not, it doesn't require 100% accuracy, I don't think. And as somebody put it on Twitter yesterday, the nerds have won. Because there are such fine margins in football, but things happen so fast. It's not like cricket or rugby, where there are so many variables and the players are much faster, and the ball is moving everywhere and bouncing all over the place. And unfortunately for us, I mean, I can't begin to understand where the rule makers think that should not have been a goal today, because there's no way that Willy Bolly or Leander Dendoncker, I mean, I haven't looked at the goal again, I've seen it on the big screen. There's no way of knowing that either of them two knew where the ball was really. They'd both gone up for a header and it didn't quite go as high as they thought it, or whatever it was. They gained a very small advantage, because if it didn't hit, I mean, I don't know where it hit them on their arm, but to me, I don't understand how that goal was not given, because as well, the main thing that keeps getting repeated is that it has to be a clear and obvious error by the referee to overturn it. That is not, in my mind, a clear and obvious error. Now, Leicester fans today, of course, will be very, very pleased that VAR worked in their favour, but there's guaranteed to be a point in the next couple of weeks where it doesn't work for them, and they lose a goal on such a small, ridiculous margin, really. And it will cost them down the line. I think on the balance of the game, a draw was a fair result. However, we scored what would have been 2 months ago, or in a Europa League game or League Cup game when there is no VAR, it would have been a perfectly valid goal. And that's what's really, really frustrating about today. It has to be, VAR has to be revised and has to change the way it's been used, because it is not working effectively for the majority of teams. And as well, the most important thing for me today, as well, obviously the first time that it's been involved in a Premier League game, when the check was happening for the goal and it went on and on and on, you knew as a fan that something's going on here, it's not going to get given, because the check was so long. So there needs to be, like there is in cricket, an explanation on the screen, not just a couple of seconds after the decision has been made. We need to be hearing what the referee's saying to the other referee, and it needs to be clear and obvious, because that's the whole phrase of VAR, is that it needs to be clear and obvious. So make it clear and obvious, because there were 30,000 people in that stadium who didn't have a clue what was going on, and we were just staring at the referee waiting for a decision to be made. And then when it was made, we didn't know why until a brief second or so was shown on the screen. That needs to change. It needs to be taken out of the hands of the referees as well, and it needs to be put, like in cricket, at the hands of the captains or the coaches. And Leicester did not appeal for handball at all at that moment. If they'd have had a review, I think you only probably need one review per team per game, and you retain it if it's correct, like in cricket. And then there shouldn't be. There wouldn't be a question then, because a defence would know if a player is offside, or a defence would know if a player was handballed it. Somebody in that team would have seen the incident clearer than the referee, because there's more than one of them. It needs to change. I can see VAR becoming an increasingly big problem throughout this season until something is changed about it, because I know that people will be watching this saying, oh, it's just a Wolves fan moaning because they haven't won the game because of it. But I've been saying it for ages. I said it yesterday. That goal that was disallowed for Manchester City because of Sterling had his armpit slightly offside. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. And nobody, no proper football fan wants to see goals disallowed because somebody's shoulder is half an inch further forward. That's embarrassing. But that's the end. I know I've spoken for nearly 5 minutes about VAR, but I can't stand it. I don't think it has any place in our game at all. And I felt really, really angry after that point that I wasn't watching football anymore. I was watching some experiment or it was not a sport filled with emotion and human error. It was like science or something, and that does not interest me at all. So it needs to change. But anyway, that aside, the football today, which of course is what this channel is about, and let's try and talk about it a little bit. Wolves were very, very slow and sluggish in the first half. I think perhaps the 6,000-mile round trip did play a little bit of part in that. But playing away from home against a team who are a very, very good level, their midfield, I think, is probably one of the best, if not the best, in the midfield. The balance that they've got in terms of creativity and defensiveness, I think they're very, very strong. And we did well to stay in the game in the first half because they were all over us, in fairness. And they didn't have too many chances, but there was that one that was flashed across the goal from, I think, Tielemans, which I can't believe nobody tapped in. But apart from that, they didn't really threaten too much. We had a couple of breaks through Johnny and Jota that we should have done better with. Jota as well in the last seconds of the first half should have put his chance away, but failed to do that. And we were quite pleased to get into half-time at 0-0. The second half then, we did better. Nuno obviously just put a rocket up them. We didn't make any changes initially at half-time, but they just looked a bit brighter and they were moving the ball faster and they were keeping Leicester pinned towards their box for most of the second half until the disallowed goal, which I think I've touched on that. And then you could see the Wolves' levels dropped again. I think they were obviously disappointed that the goal had not been given, and there was arguments after the goal with the referee as well. But obviously, the decision had been made, and their levels did drop, and Leicester came back into the game a little bit more then. But the thing that Leicester are lacking is that real quality striker. They have got Jamie Vardy, but he's ageing a little bit now, and if he was to pick up an injury, they haven't really got anybody to come in who's of top 6 sort of quality. Whereas I think teams like ourselves and Everton have got better striking options, and I think that's why Leicester will not finish in the top 6 this season. That being said, I think Wolves we were a little bit soft today as well. There were a lot of shouts from the stands about the referee and some of the decisions that he made. However, I think contrary to most people's view of the game, I thought the referee did actually quite okay. There were very few. There were a couple of calls that I think he got wrong, but on the whole, I think their number 4, I can't remember his name, the Stock Glue or something like that, was going up against Jimenez, and he was knocking Jimenez over all the time with the shoulder barge, which you have to, which is a legal part of football. You are allowed to go up, shoulder to shoulder with somebody. And Jimenez, I don't know whether he's looked very, very good against Crusaders and against Punic, but coming up against a real top quality outfit like Leicester, perhaps, I don't know, made him, I don't know, he didn't look frightened, but he didn't look as bold and as brave as he did last season. So hopefully he can just work on that. Because he did have a couple of real big hits, but he should be, for me, I think he should be a bit tougher than he was. Midfield as well, Neves, not at his best. Again, a few sloppy touches in the first half, giving possession away a little bit too easily. But it's the first game of the season, and it's a very, very good point away from home against the rival. Clean sheet as well, which is important. But what I've been thinking about going forward now is that our intention should be to try and better each result from last year. So last year, we went to Leicester and we lost 2-0. So that's progress. The next game against Man United, we won, of course, at home. So we need to try and win that one again as well, or if not, better it. I think that should be the way that the Wolves look at the season and try and beat last season, because, game by game, step by step, we will do it. I think there was a couple of good signs today. Johnny, I thought, played very, very well on the left-hand side, linked up well with Jota. Doherty looked very, very tired. I was surprised that he lasted the whole 90 minutes. However, I think Traoré will probably play on Thursday, but it was calling out for Traoré to come on in the last 10 minutes just to scare Leicester in a new way. Bolly, I thought, was magnificent again, really, really commanding and controlling. I think he had a goal line clearance as well in the second half to keep us at 0-0. Patricio made a couple of half-decent saves as well. Cutrone came on and showed a little bit of potential. It's been difficult for him this week to just come on for, I think he's probably played a combined of about 15, 20 minutes in both of the games. So it's difficult for him to display any real qualities at the moment. But he showed that he's eager and he was running and he was working hard, not like players like Costa when he came on last year. So that's positive, and hopefully we can build on that going forward. I'd expect that Cutrone will start on Thursday, maybe alongside Neto and other players like that who will not be starting the game against Manchester United, give them a little bit of a breather now because they've had a very tough couple of weeks. But I think that's it. I think I've covered all the main points. I'm sorry for going on so long about VAR, but as you can see, I'm quite passionate about it. It does not belong in football, or it doesn't belong in football in its current form. I was thinking as well, Sepp Blatter was adamant that football should not have technology because it should be the same at every level. And I think for the first time, there's not many things that I agree with Sepp Blatter on, but I do agree at this. Goal line technology is necessary. The rest of it, though, is completely unnecessary. You may as well have robots running the line and just send every goal to a block of flats or whatever it is, office block, 100 miles away or whatever. I don't care. I don't think VAR will last. I don't want it to. But anyway, that's the end. Thank you very much for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below about VAR, about everything, about the game, about your hopes for the season and how today has gone. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Drop a like, subscribe, etc. Share it around, and I'll see you next time, Thursday. Is it Thursday? Wednesday for a live stream, maybe? I don't know. See ya. Bye-bye.